Hello everyone and welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army Private Members Club. So it's time for the weekly video, and again I'm here in my new place which I'm settling into quite well. Same background that I used for my last YouTube video, which was about 5 great fougere fragrances. Today we're going to do a bit of a haul video. It's 5 new entries into my collection this week, and a completely diverse and you could say somewhat random selection of fragrances, but I hope there'll be some here that will interest everyone. So let's get stuck into it. Let me know what you think of my picks in the comments down below. So the first fragrance that I've added to my collection is Nautica Voyage, the legendary cheapie that has been talked about for many years on Fragcom as a really simple, fresh, soapy, aquatic kind of fragrance. I think originates or is more of a thing that people wear a bit more commonly over there in the States rather than here in the UK. It's a 2006 release from perfumer Maurice Roussel, and it's one of those ones I'd heard about an awful lot on YouTube and Fragrantica. It didn't leap out as something wildly exciting that I absolutely had to have, but my sister actually bought it for my birthday, which was a couple of weeks ago. The notes on this one are green leaves, apple, mimosa, lotus, amber, musk, oak moss and cedar. And it's one of those fragrances, sometimes you hear about a fragrance and people talk about it this way and that, but it's only when you smell it that you really understand how it smells. But in the case of this one, what you are hearing online or in YouTube videos gives you a pretty great idea of how this one is going to smell. It's extremely summery and fresh. It has a very, very aquatic, ozonic kind of vibe. Comparisons I would make would be a little bit in the ballpark of things like the similar juice-coloured Versace Pour Homme from 2008, I think that was an Alberto Marias fragrance, or Chanel's Allure Homme Sport, a signature scent of mine for many years before I really became a proper frag head, and I think that one, of course, would be by Jacques Polge. I think that was a 2004 release. It's in that kind of ballpark. Some people are talking about a sort of cucumber note with this one that not everyone completely loves. I wouldn't pick up on cucumber. I do get a green leafiness and a sort of apple thing, maybe neroli, ozonic notes mixing in there. Bit synthetic smelling, very, very soapy and clean, kind of an anti-fragrance for when you're not in the mood for a fragrance. A modern vibe, not a classic cologne vibe, but a modern kind of sporty, aquatic fragrance. Very, very pleasant indeed, and a completely great option for when you don't want to smell like the cologne guy, the guy wearing too much aftershave. If you just want to be clean and presentable at work, nice, good, likable aura is what you're going to exude with this one. So not that exciting for those of us really into this hobby, but I think, yeah, great. For the price, I think it's about £16 or something online here in the UK for 100ml. It's similarly cheap throughout the world. I can't really comment on performance. Some people say there's a vintage version with a metal cap. Mine's got a plastic one. It's moderately weak, but I think that's what you expect. You can spray tons of that. So in complete contrast then, this one's the only one that I don't have a full bottle. As you know, I'm rather friendly with the brand Bortnikov. I do send pictures for their daily Instagram post, and they have kindly sent me quite a few free bottles. So Dmitry Bortnikov, the man behind the Bortnikov brand out in Thailand, he lives, and he's a Russian perfumer, and it's all about incredibly high quality, expensive, natural ingredients. They've got 3 new ones coming out, which are Triad, and I've got 2 others here actually, which is Vetiver Nocturne Absolu. They already had Vetiver Nocturne, now they're doing Vetiver Nocturne Absolu. Another one called Oud Singharaja. I decided these really deserve a full video and a talking about that I'll probably do on YouTube. But for today, I just wanted to mention one of them, which is called Triad. And yeah, this is strong stuff. Very, very, it couldn't be more of a contrast really with Nautica Voyage. Notes in this one, well, there's various different types of oud that I won't go into. Magnolia, Rose de Mai, Tonka. We've also got sandalwood, and we have Hyraceum. Now that is the stuff produced by the cats. I think it's a Hyrax, isn't it? There was a zoologist fragrance called Hyrax. It's a very strong animalic note, a bit like civet or something like that. And it's a mixture of poop and pee from this cat that sort of congeals, and I don't know if it's fossilized or whatever, but it's got perfume qualities. It's been used for many, many years, but of course it's potent and animalic stuff. So only been just trying this one out on paper today. Very, very rich and recognizable for me now oud accord that's very real oud. It's not the synthetic or the department store kind of oud accord that I'm kind of used to too. But you can smell this really almost barnyard, animalic type of oud thing, very funky, a very, very real and dark rose note in there, and definitely an animalic funk, a little bit in the ballpark of Oud Maximus, which I rather like, but darker. That has an airiness and some florals and some citrus. This is all about the base notes and the pungent stuff that you get in some of the other Bortnikov fragrances, but this one, yeah, one of the real dark, rich ones. An absolute beast from what I'm guessing so far, from the way the paper sort of gives off a smell that fills the whole room so far. Very, very interesting brand. It's going to be very expensive. He's just sent me a sample of this one. Interesting, very, very interesting artistic perfumery, and a great contrast to Nautica Voyage. So let me know what you think about Bortnikov. Have you tried any of their stuff? So that was one that I was pleased to try out. Now moving on then, and again back to contrasting again, going back the other way, we've got from Penhaligon's in their Portrait series, the Impudent Cousin Matthew. Now, I met up with Masham Raza from Duo Fragrances, who was in town visiting Harrods yesterday. So I went into London, met up with him, and we had lunch. I find him a very interesting and very nice, charming gentleman. And he was very keen to pick up some Harrods exclusive stuff. He was looking at some Roger Parfum stuff. And indeed, it was his first time really getting stuck into Penhaligon stuff. This wasn't one of the ones that massively interested him, but I mentioned that I thought it was a very, very beautiful neroli type citrus, fresh, soapy fragrance. And he surprised me, and I didn't want him to, and I wouldn't have expected this, but he bought me a bottle of, since I've mentioned it, of the Impudent Cousin Matthew. So that was very kind of him. Now, the notes on this one are very simply listed on the websites out there as orange, petitgrain and patchouli. So that's a bit deceptive, because you won't pick up on any patchouli, I don't think. What I smell is that it's a very, very similar fragrance to Neroli Portofino or Mugler Cologne. So you could say it's not that exciting, but it is an exquisite, I would say, neroli fragrance. Weirdly, neroli is not listed as a note. Orange and petitgrain, we know those kind of things are, all in the same kind of ballpark. When you get orange blossom, neroli, the note of petitgrain, there's a big crossover there. So I would say definitely there's some neroli oil in here. Very, very soapy, very, very bright, vibrant. If you've tried many different neroli fragrances, all I can say really is this is right up with a lot of the other really good ones out there. It is rather highly priced, so you could debate whether it's worth investing this kind of money in a fragrance which is simply an exquisitely nice, fresh, simple, soapy neroli, but it is a really high quality one, and up there with some of the best for me. Definitely up there as a great competitor to things like Neroli Portofino. Superb choice for fresh weather. It's got a duck's head bottle design, and they do some really interesting stuff actually there. They were doing some fragrances where you could sort of do a bespoke thing, which is what Mr. Raza was interested in getting. So the lady actually made up a mixture. You could take a different base accord and a different top accord. Obviously there was more going on in these things, and you could ask to have them combined and smell that, and then she would make them up for you. So the interesting bespoke stuff going up on the 6th floor in Harrods. But this is a mainstream one that you can just buy in the shops. But yeah, definitely a highly priced one. Still not dethroning Sartorial, still my absolute favourite from that house, but very good if you are interested in that kind of fragrance. However, not cheap. Now, speaking of Masham Raza of Duo then, of course he gave me a few new Duo ones to try out, which I normally review once a month, a video about their stuff. And the big thing for them this year, I'll show the interview that I filmed with him on YouTube soon, for them has been the explosion of hybrid fragrances. So they started off with, I think, Casino Royale fused with Poseidon's Elixir, which is Aventus and Baccarat Rouge 540. Then they did Aventus with Virgin Island Water, and now an incredible myriad of different combinations of niche fragrances, kind of their version of how those two would smell layered. He was very interesting in going into how they do that. It's not just a case of pouring the two fragrances in 50-50. Apparently that doesn't really give you the kind of quality they want. So it's quite complex, and they really have to analyze the fragrances in depth to see which ones can go together and in how they actually make that happen. However, they certainly do have it down to a very sort of easy for them to do method, because they're pumping out a heck of a lot of them, and he's completely open that there's a lot of machinery and programs involved, computer algorithms and stuff that help them get that right. Now, one of the ones he gave to me, which he was pretty sure would be up my street, and he's right, was Invasion of the Royal Barbers. Okay, Invasion of the Barbers is their version of MDCI's Invasion Barbar, and Royal Portugal is their version of Bois de Portugal. So they fused those two, and it's so if you mix Bois de Portugal, MDCI, Invasion Barbar, this is, they think, what you could come up with. So of course, two great green, in one case Fougère, and Bois de Portugal is similar to a Fougère type fragrance. Definitely it's beautiful, and I really do like it, I have to say. And as with all their stuff, it's going to be strong and long lasting. I've got it on paper here. Notes, it is nice. Bergamot, grapefruit, ginger, thyme, cardamom, lavender, violet leaves, cedarwood, sandalwood, vanilla, musk, vetiver and ambergris. So a combination of the notes from the two. You get the lovely green bitterness of Bois de Portugal. Both of them have lavender, both of them somewhat barbershop-ish, and then you get the creaminess, the cardamom, the slight spiciness, and the sweetness from the Invasion of the Barbers, or Invasion Barbar, mixing together. So you can get hints of either one. It's not obvious unless you were really thinking about it, or if someone had told you that it's necessarily, it doesn't leap out, oh, it's a bit like Bois de Portugal 50% with Invasion Barbar. As I was saying to him in the interview, you get a sort of a third thing, a new phenomenon emerges. And this is one of the more successful ones for me that I really enjoy. So definitely worth checking out if you are into the whole thing of Dewar's hybrids. Great performance, so me it's ridiculous. It's not as commendable as real original perfumery, but they are strong. They do get you noticed, and people who are into these get really into Dewar, and he's got a lot of repeat customers, so they must deliver at some level, and I do find that they do in terms of smelling great and giving good performance. So Invasion of the Royal Barbers, is that what it's called? Yeah. Interesting. More to come on that one, probably on my channel soon. Let me know what you think about that, good or bad. Then in a very different vein again, we have one that I bought with my own money. I don't think I've gone into this one much lately. It's not super new, but I don't think I've mentioned it before, if at all, or very much anywhere. This is Silverstone by Miguel Matos, the Fragrantica writer, a very esteemed and renowned fragrance journalist. And of course, he's got his own line of fragrances. Not mega cheap, but not hugely expensive compared to some niche stuff. Kind of simplistic packaging, but I think it sort of goes with his all about the juice ethos. This one has notes of lemon, lavender, basil, coriander, oregano, rose, violet, cedar, jasmine, musk, sandalwood, leather and oak moss. So it's beginning to sound almost like a Fougère fragrance. It's not really an out-and-out Fougère, I don't think. I did in my last video about the Fougères, I mentioned Germain by him, which is a Chypre stroke Fougère. This one has more fresh lemony greenness than that one, which was rather a spicy, sort of rich, dark take on the Fougère or Chypre. This one does have a very nice, fresh, lemony opening. Definitely quite spicy again though, but in a slightly different way. And it's got a very kind of musky, smooth dry down on this one that is very, very appealing, very, very strong indeed. They're concentrated very highly. I believe he's not necessarily IFRA compliant, so the oak moss may be real oak moss. So it's got a classic feel. Again, leaning towards the sort of green aromatic fougere type territory, but it's definitely got a modern niche feel about it as well. Yeah, there's a kind of a sort of leathery darkness in this one, different to the way that Germain was sort of dark and woody. This one does have some woody accords in there too, but this one maybe a little bit more floral. There's rose and violet in here, and it's got this really kind of almost aquatic, crisp, fresh opening, and then it does go down to a sort of a muskiness and an old school vibe. As you can tell, I'm struggling to describe it, but I find these very, very artistic, and they don't smell really like your mainstream department store niche. They don't smell certainly like designer fragrances, and these are the kind of things you when I went a couple of years ago to the award ceremony. Oh God, what was it called? I've forgotten the name, but it was for indie and artisanal perfumery, the Art and Olfaction Awards. It was the kind of fragrance you got there. People like SP Parfums by Sven Pritzker, Miguel Matos sits alongside that. Maybe your zoologist stuff. Real artistic and artisanal kind of perfumery. So definitely worth checking out Miguel Matos. If you like his writing, you could maybe get samples or full bottles, if you dare, of some of his stuff, which is very, very interesting, artistic, and quite daring, I think. So a real mixed bag there that I've picked up. And, as you can see, I do quite like some of the more fancy pants houses that are out there. I do still tolerate the clone stuff, and as ever, I do enjoy your cheap stuff, and this could bring a smile to your face as much as any of the others or anything else in my collection, Nautica Voyage. So still very much into that kind of stuff. I will never sort of think, oh, I've moved beyond that in my fragrance journey. I'll always have a place for these kind of £20 and downwards type priced fragrances. So let me know what you thought about any of those. And hopefully soon the house will start to look a little bit more like we're getting somewhere, because there's still paintings sat on the wall. I have got some picture hooks, sofa hopefully coming this week, and we'll get a very plush, I hope, backdrop for you. So let me know how your week's been going, any new fragrances you've picked up, and what you thought about the ones I've mentioned there today. So it's Friday night, time for me to relax a little bit, and thank you very much for joining me. See you in the next video in here and over on YouTube. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. Bye-bye.